So it's nicely organized in the table of contents here, and we're going to start with the report from Wanda. And then this includes also the financial report, which I just went over, but it was just for the fiscal year. So it doesn't show up until until 4 months of 2022. But then we'll go on to the strategic plan, and then discuss the activities that were done in the past year, and then discuss communication marketing, and then go over the partners and the outreach activities that was done also in the past year, and then do some introduction of our new school food animator project coming up. Okay, so Wanda, over to you.
Thank you. So I'll just briefly say we have a very new board right now, and we've been we've redirected somewhat, connecting with different food security groups, partially because of Claire's meet and greet sessions, and partially with Avni's bringing us to the Canmore area that we weren't in before. So so we just invite anybody to join us, and we have monthly meetings by Zoom, and we are remote all the time. And talking about Claire's meet and greet, we had two students, so Snea this summer, who did quite a bit of work getting connections and documents ready, and then Judith came on in November, and she got more information and more contacts for us, but she also undertook to do presentations, and I will invite Judith to talk later about the presentations that she did when we get to the community animator. So we were writing quite a few grants, and we were lucky, as Claire said, in getting quite a bit of funding. And so we have moved from a deficit budget to a really healthy one. So then we are moving forward with our very big community school food animator project. We have partnered with the Alberta Public Health Association and the Public Health Association of BC to do this community school food animator. And Claire, could you go down just a wee bit? And oh, so we will also be working with Rural Development Network, because they are doing a similar project in the Medicine Hat area. So we are doing our animator project up in the Peace region to begin, and Connor is running with the Rural Development Network in Medicine Hat, and we are looking forward to an amazing year. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you, Wanda. And just to review the meet and greet series, we started our first one back in September 14th, 2021, and the focus was on national organizations involved in advocacy work around food security in Alberta. So we had Alberta Food Matters introduce themselves. We had Community Food Centers Canada and Food Secure Canada as our guest speakers. And then our second meet and greet series was held on October 20th of 2021, where the focus was on organizations that support food security specifically in Alberta, not on the national level. And we had Bow Valley Food Alliance, Community Food Connections Association, and also Fresh Fruits as guest speakers on their second meet and greet series. And then our third one was recently held just a month ago, March 23rd, the focus was on rural and urban agriculture. So we had Rural Development Network and Grow Calgary as guests for that one. And we'll see if in the future we'll have more. Okay. And the financial report we just did. And so next up is strategic plan. Wanda, do you have anything to say about this part?
We had with our new board, we went into, before the new board, we had talked with community development out of the province of Alberta, and she had redone with us our mission and vision. And I would imagine that our board will also be doing some strategic planning this year. Anyway, so that's just a snapshot of what we had done in the early spring last year. Thanks, Claire.
Yes, so we had our vision, mission, values rediscussed during the strategic plan. And they'll be updated if we do have another one after sometime this year. Okay, and in terms of activities, we had a few. So yes, the meet and greet series was started. School food webinars. We'll just touch base on the school food webinars.
Yeah, we Bemero has posted them to our YouTube page. There's quite a variety. I see they're getting quite a few views. They're very helpful if anybody's working in school and you want ideas for how the kids could grow their own food. Thanks.
All right. And then we applied for a few grants last year. And so we got that funding for the summer student. And then we had our summer student start back in June all the way to the end of August. So she really helped increase the school connections that we had and made a great list of greenhouses. And then Judith, she came in fall of 2021, and she will come on board. And do you have anything to share with us, Judith? Yeah.
Yeah, so I came on in November and then until just February, just there. And I just continued the work that Sneha had done in the summer. So just tried to sort of investigate the school food programs that exist in our program already, in our province already, and then start to kind of see what interest there would be, and then also get the word out with our project coming up this year. So I did develop a PowerPoint presentation and then recorded that and shared it with various different potential community partners. And then, yeah, the stage we're at is there is interest. And then now that we have the grant funding, is we can roll it out. That's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Right. So lots of activities was done last year, really enhanced our organization. And we, our network connections with other organizations were really strengthened through the work that we did. Communication and marketing. So Bemero continues to manage our communication really strong through the website, social media, YouTube. He posts the webinars, recordings of even today our general meeting will be posted. And then Laura started to create a quarterly newsletter. Monthly, sometimes too, since last year. And so we have subscriptions available for the newsletter, and people can stay updated on any upcoming events or activities lately, and connect with us through that. In terms of partners and outreach, Wanda, want to comment on the initiatives?
So the reason that we're really ramping up with school food is because we are a partner with the Coalition for Healthy School Food. So both Avni and I attend their meetings, and they are a national group with a very large interprovincial membership. In Alberta, we're have our first school that wrote to the province and the federal government to say to reiterate what the coalition is saying about having a national school food program. And the goal of that is to feed our children with local healthy food. And the Liberal government did commit $1 billion over the next 5 years. They have not started rolling out the program. The coalition is following that very closely. And we think that what the government is doing is talking to all its stakeholders and consulting to get a best way forward. And the coalition are the people, they're one of the groups that they're talking to a lot. So we're just really excited that they are talking to the coalition, because they are not, they don't have a stake in it. They are just advocates for the best practices. So yeah, we're very excited about that. And thank you, Claire.
Yeah, at Bow Valley Food Alliance, I know that Abney is very well informed about it. Would you like to share anything, Abney?
Sure, I will. Mostly because Scott is on the call. And so Scott, I just wanted to let you know, so at Bow Valley Food Alliance, as I mentioned before, we do have a charter and we're working with municipalities. That's kind of at a policy level. But over time, what we've seen in our own board structure, and we do have an academic on our board, which really changes the dialogue, because there's things that I would not even think of or know, and she's bringing it to light. So what has happened is we've created a separate group that's under Bow Valley Food Alliance, and it's called JEDI. It's called Justice, Equity, Diversity, Decolonization, and Inclusion. So we're working on discussions kind of all across Turtle Island, talking about governance, governance in particular in non-for-profits, and how our governance structures are, like at Bow Valley Food Alliance, has affected how we are, and how things have been playing out, and how we can start to do things a little bit differently with a decolonizing lens. So yeah, so that's where Bow Valley Food Alliance is. We actually just had, so we had also had a board shakeup kind of just over the Christmas, like winter time, and now have quite a different board, and it's fascinating, the discussions that are happening at that. So it's a very kind of like a governance lens in relation to our board and where we're at. So we do still, and funding is also another thing that we discuss a lot. And we have 2 coordinators, and hoping, we're just in the process of ensuring that we can continue funding from a local foundation. So local to the Bow Valley, which will continue to pay their salaries. Yeah.
Thanks, Avni. Is Christian Wright still in?
So he's not in the Bow Valley. He's still very close to us. I just had an event that I hosted at the end of March where we screened the movie Gather. I'm sure you've heard of it, or have you heard of it?
No, I haven't, no.
Okay, it's on Indigenous food systems. And so the event was a little bit of a mishmash, because we had Christian zoom in, and a couple other local people talk about school food in the Bow Valley. And so Christian zoomed in for that. So he's still part of the dialogue. He's not part of the physical doing of the garden.
Is he still in Canmore, or?
He's in Ontario. So I don't know.
Okay, that's why. I didn't know. I kind of lost touch with him. There's lots of people. So.
Yeah. No, he during COVID, so he grew up in Ontario. So
okay.
He went back because one of his sisters bought some land, and so he's helping set it all.
Brilliant!
Up.
Oh, I love that.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. So he's still doing stuff. Not in school food there, but we are still If anyone is in touch with him still, like we're still trying to woo him back. So in various ways. So anyway, so he was part of this event, which was so great to see him. And also there's another urban farmer that's slowly kind of taking, stewarding the land that he had, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like he had built a pretty sweet operation there. I got to, he showed me around one day when it was in full swing.
Oh, you came down, great.
Yeah, I was down for a conference type presentation thing with the Bow Valley Food Alliance a few years ago.
Okay, I remember this. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and afterwards, Christian showed me around, gave me a one-on-one tour, and happened to be some students were hanging out there that day, and we got to work with them a little bit, and it was really cool. I'm really happy that like somebody is taking it over and moving forward with it. It's awesome.
Somehow I just missed some of that, but yeah, so someone is moving. There's a lot of, I'm going to say, politics with the school board. That's a big piece of what's happening too.
Right. Yeah, there was. I've seen that as well. I just have to interject with an opinion and observation regarding leadership in the schools.
Mhm.
Just a quick little framework here of what's going on in most locations. Principals, leaderships in schools. Principals, namely, are the gateway to the superintendent and board. Principals are largely ex phys ed teachers, and if you're an educator, you understand what I'm talking about. Things kind of fall on deaf ears, especially needs of the community, the students regarding nutrition. Now, not all the time, but it's a generalization. And then at the leadership level, if it's not presented in a way from the school administration as a necessity, then it's just not paid any attention to. So I found that a lot of our educators that come out of Alberta institutions are educated in a very conventional educational model. The program that we started included high school food students working in the kitchen under the supervision of the high school foods teacher, implementing the curriculum in a cross-modular way. And the linear thinking of most Alberta educators doesn't accommodate that kind of cross-modular education style. So what they want to do is go back to this home ec style classroom, and they're undermining my program right now, actually, with our new restructuring of the high schools. So for next year, we're not having food students in the kitchen. We're only allowed to have work experience students. So and we're in a very progressive educational model. It's just the leadership that we have in Alberta regarding our Alberta educators. They are not, in a large part in terms of the leadership, they're not progressive educationalists. Anyway, that's my opinion.
So,
You know,
go ahead.
Sorry, Avani, can I just say, I wonder because Kim Rain and Bamero, you know, the ACPPC, like through that body, we should be influencing. There should be a way to influence the university. What you say, Scott, the kind of institutional way that they address school food, because we've got an opportunity with this federal money coming to like really the infrastructure. If the infrastructure is there, the program should be there. And so this is really timely that we address that. And I kind of think it's through Kim Rain or Angeline Webb, like maybe it's an institutional change at the university level that the newly trained teachers come out with a different attitude about food. Absolutely. When I received my education degree from Vancouver Island University in 2010, and that was after working in the food industry for about 10 years.
And I believe when I went into the university education program at VIU, I had a very backwards idea of education at the time going into it. I almost didn't want to become a teacher. And then I realized, you know, this is a way better pedagogy in terms of project-based learning, inclusivity, and intergenerational, like working together in the kitchen. Like, it's not ages and stages. We have grade 9s to 12s all working together because that's what the workforce is like. So anyway, progressive pedagogy is not being taught at the university level in Alberta, and I'm seeing that in my elementary school teachers. That my sons are going, they go to elementary school here in Wetaskiwin, and it's an epidemic of backwardness in Alberta.
We need to have more of these conversations if possible, Scott, because I'm not an educator, so I don't see it from that perspective. But what I see as a parent, I see from governance lens, which is that because I was involved with Christian in starting up all these gardens, building them, and that type of thing, and so I got to know the people who were involved at our dominant school board, which is where Christian's gardens are. And there was no way I was going to send my kid to, you know, under that kind of structure leadership.
Yeah.
So this is fascinating for me to hear. I chose a Francophone school. I had the privilege of choosing that school, and so it's a different culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons, like I went that direction.
Right.
But how do we, in addition to addressing the systemic issue of education, of how teachers are educated, the cultural piece too, you know, there's a bigger conversation I would love to have with you, but just curious if you're talking about or have done it or seen it in your lifetime too.
Yeah, well, how about we continue the conversation another time? There's lots to talk about. So yeah, it's great meeting you, Avni. Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that I've got an in with the foods teachers. So they are under AHIA, and I've been attending their meetings, hit and miss, because some of their topics just aren't applicable. But I think that maybe what we should do is say, sign us up for a conversation about school food in Alberta, because what we could say is Scott wants to tell you about his program, what you're saying about interconnecting modules and influencing how the foods program you know, trains kids. And so I think we should go try the AHIA route and just see what we get there.
That would be great. I've kind of steered clear. I remember looking up that organization. Saskatchewan has a very similar one, and it's home economics. Really, is what it is. Largely home economics. And in our community, it was historically. It's one of. I think that's why it was so well received, because it was. Just training women to be barefoot and pregnant. Essentially, it was a segregated classroom. It was only for girls. In the beginning, even in 2011, boys were hesitant to come into our program and work in the kitchen, until I dictated to them that the majority of people in the food industry that dominate the food industry are males. And we actually need more women to work in a commercial setting, not just training them to be barefoot and pregnant. Cooking food for their husbands and children. You know, that's essentially what home economics was created for. Anyway.
Yep, yeah. Totally. Okay, I'm on it.
Yeah, I also have some thoughts that I'll take offline and we can continue the conversation.
Okay, hi.
All right, really good conversation, yes, but I suppose due to time constraints, yeah, we can talk about it further for sure another time. So yeah, these are all the partners. So we talked about Let It Utilize, Alberta Public Health Association, and Farm to School BC. They're helping us with the community school food animator project. So there'll be more talks about it as we start it. Farm to Cafeteria Canada, they provided us with a grant. APC, CCP, we are, that this is the one that Wanda mentioned, Dr. Kim Rain. And Rural Development Network, Food Secure Canada, just all of these organizations that we partnered with, and the Community School Food Animator. This is our huge section that we're of this annual report because it's very new, and now that we have the grant and we were successful with that, we're very excited to get this project started, and hopefully, yeah, it will go well. Wanda, do you have any comments you want to make? I know, you're very excited about the school food animator position.
No, I'm good. It's there. Unless Judith wants to elaborate on, although I will say, May 12th, Richard is going to come in virtually, Judith, to meet with the partners up in the Peace region. And we are then going to put out the application for the animator once we have told all of the different associations, because we think that likely they will think of somebody or know somebody who might be a good food animator, because Richard says it's best to have the main person be a local person because they need to go in person, and then hire them in June because our funding is for a year. So we would go from June to June so that we could do evaluations starting in the fall, and then wrap them up at the end of June in 2023.
Okay, all right, so it's May 12th. Okay, great. Okay, so next up on our agenda is and then board for next year.